What if everything you thought you knew about cannabis was backwards? What if the thing that you've been using to chill, to numb, and to get through your day was actually forgotten spiritual technology, a sacred key gifted to us by ancient beings to activate our souls? And I'm talking about Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom, the scribe of the gods, the one who gave us language, magic, the measurement of time. Thoth didn't just pass on knowledge, he protected it and then he encoded it. And one of the things he encoded was the proper use of plants. Not just herbs for medicine, but plants that could open portals, help you remember who you truly are, and guide you back to your higher self, and cannabis was one of them. But here's the thing. Most people are using cannabis in a way that disconnects them, instead of awakening them and reconnecting them to source energy. So today, I'm going to show you how cannabis was originally meant to be used, based on ancient spiritual teachings, archaeological findings, and my own lived experiences. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right. Let's zoom way out now. We're living in a time where cannabis is more accessible than ever. It's legal in a lot of places, it is a booming industry, and it's finally starting to shed the stigma it's carried for many, many decades. And that's really good, right? Well, yes, and also maybe no. Because here's what happens when something sacred becomes commercialized. We strip the spirit out of it, we forget its original purpose, and we start using it in ways that actually disconnect us from ourselves. So let me ask you a question. When was the last time you heard someone say, "Cannabis changed my life because it helped me remember who I truly am"? Most people say, it helps me sleep, it helps me with anxiety, or it helps me not feel. And don't get me wrong, those are totally valid reasons. But what if I told you cannabis wasn't meant to numb you, it was meant to wake you up? And I don't mean wake you up out of bed, I mean wake up your pineal gland, activate your inner vision, and reconnect you to the parts of your life that modern life tried to delete. And this isn't just spiritual fluff. We've got real archaeological evidence that cannabis was revered by ancient cultures, not just as a medicine, but as a ritual tool. Like I mentioned earlier, cannabis pollen was found in the tomb of Ramses II, one of the greatest pharaohs of ancient Egypt. I want you to think about that. This is a tomb filled with gold, precious stones, magical texts, and cannabis. And that should tell you something. Even more than that, we've got Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest medical documents ever discovered, dating all the way back to 1550 BCE, and it describes cannabis as part of the healing protocols. But here's the thing, ancient Egyptians didn't separate physical healing from spiritual healing. There was no, this is a body physical thing, and then this is a mental soul thing. They understood that pain in the body was often a reflection of something misaligned in the spirit. So when they used cannabis, it wasn't like, oh, my back hurts, pass me a joint. It was more like, I am in spiritual imbalance, I need a plant that could show me the frequency of wholeness again. And then they would prepare, they'd purify, they'd breathe, they'd enter the temple, they would invoke Thoth, the god of divine wisdom and cosmic law. And in that sacred space, cannabis wasn't something you used, it was something that you listened to. Now let's look at what we've done today. We've taken this ancient spirit ally and turned it into a consumer product. You could buy pre-rolls at the gas station. You might even scroll past 30 ads for gummies before you even finish this video. So we have desacralized this plant. And here's the problem with that. When you take something sacred and treat it casually, you don't just lose the magic, you actually flip it. What was once an amplifier for divine remembrance becomes an amplifier for whatever program you're already stuck in. So if you're anxious, overwhelmed, distracted, or numb, and you consume cannabis without intention, guess what it amplifies? All of that. And the people that say weed makes me paranoid or it makes me get too much in my head, that's not the plant's fault. The plant is just doing what it's always done. Reflect your frequency, amplify your state, show you what you're ready to see. And let me be perfectly clear, this isn't about judgment. I'm not saying you have to quit weed or that there's just one right way to do it. What I'm saying is cannabis is not neutral. It's a tool, a spirit, a teacher. And when we forget that, we begin to forget ourselves. We stop remembering that we are multidimensional beings. We forget that healing doesn't have to be hard, that clarity doesn't require suffering, that guidance is always available when we know how to ask. And that's why this matters so much, because right now, we are in a global remembering. People are beginning to wake up, systems are collapsing, and old beliefs are dissolving. And cannabis is one of the few tools that's both ancient and accessible. It's legal in most places, it's easy to find, it's plant-based, and when used with reverence, it can become a fast track to healing, vision, and truth, but only if we remember what it really is. Only if we approach it the way our ancestors did, with intention, presence, and deep, deep listening. Let's talk about Thoth. He's not just a mythical scribe with an ibis head. Thoth was considered the embodiment of divine intelligence. He understands the laws of the universe, how frequency, vibration, and our intention shape reality. He's credited with giving humanity the power of the written word, and more importantly, the ability to record memory. So let's think about cannabis through this lens. What if cannabis was designed to unlock your soul's memory? To show you things you forgot because you had to, just to survive your childhood, or because your culture never taught you how to remember. If this is the case, then you don't just use cannabis, you approach it like a ceremony, like an activation. Thoth would never say, here's a plant, go smoke it and scroll TikTok. He would say, here's a sacred ally, breathe, prepare your vessel, ask, and then listen. So here are the core principles of cannabis as taught through a Thothian lens. Number 1, intention is the frequency. Every plant carries potential. Your intention unlocks what version of the plant you experience. If you smoke cannabis to forget, you'll forget. If you smoke cannabis to remember, you'll also remember. Principle number 2, presence is the gateway. When you're high and distracted, scrolling, eating, talking, you're dissolving the signal. But if you get quiet, breathe and listen, you'll start to hear the voice of your own soul. Cannabis will mirror exactly where you are. It has no filter, and that is why cannabis is so sacred. Principle number 3, breath is the activator. The ancients knew this. Breath and plants equals portals. Without breath, you stay in the loop. So before you even touch the plant, breathe, get coherent. The plant follows your lead. Concept number 4, integration is the assignment. So cannabis will show you things, visions, insights, truths, but if you don't integrate those things, they begin to evaporate. You have to journal, reflect, talk about it, or the lesson just begins to fade and you just get caught in the loop of cool thoughts with no transformation. Just think about all the people you know that do psilocybin, ayahuasca, DMT over and over and over again. They get these really awesome epiphanies, but they never integrate them, so they always have to go back to the plant. So don't do this with any other plant medicines, including cannabis. And what I want you to know is that this isn't just Egyptian wisdom. The Scythians, a nomadic tribe described by Herodotus, were known as the Kapno-Batal, the cloud walkers. They built these little tent saunas where they threw cannabis on hot stones and entered ecstatic trances, not to get lit up, but to enter other dimensions and to receive visions. Now let's go east to Taoist China, 4th to 6th century. Cannabis was burned in temples, mixed with other herbs as spiritual incense, used by mystics to commune with immortals. Now we could go to the Middle East. In ancient Israelite ritual, there's a biblical ingredient called cannabis, translated as fragrant cane. And linguistic studies now show it was likely cannabis. And guess what? In 2020, archaeologists found actual cannabinoid residue on a temple altar in Judah. So this isn't about just one culture. This is a planet-wide remembering of cannabis as a bridge between dimensions. Now, many of you watching this might not be connected to this ancient wisdom, so let's bring it into the modern world. A 2021 study published in the Journal of Psychopharmacology found that 66% of people who use cannabis with spiritual intention report positive mystical experiences. And the number skyrockets when combined with meditation or breath work. So let me say this again. Cannabis plus meditation equals spiritual amplifier. You start accessing gamma brainwaves. You start receiving insights. You tap into states of forgiveness, compassion, gratitude, not from your mind, but from your heart and your field. Even the neuroscientists are beginning to confirm this now. Cannabis increases default mode network activity. That's the same area activated during deep meditation and flow states. It also lowers ego resistance, which makes it easier to release trauma and rewire beliefs. So if you've ever felt high and spiritual, you weren't imagining it. You were entering a legitimate neuromystical state. Now, we have to talk about the downsides because not all cannabis use is sacred. There are many ways we misuse it, and I've done all of them. Number 1, using it to avoid emotions. If you're using cannabis to escape your feelings, it will work temporarily, but the emotions don't leave. They just hide and they begin to build. Number 2 is using it unconsciously. Cannabis without a sacred container is like electricity without wiring. It will just fry your system eventually. And lastly, relying on it as a crutch. Cannabis is a bridge, not a destination. It's here to show you the path, not walk it for you. So the goal is to awaken your ability to access these states with or without the plant. Now let me just share 2 quick stories. Story number 1, which is Maya's story. After her first intentional journey, Maya started doing this once a week. Each time she'd go deeper, she'd start remembering childhood memories she'd buried, and then she healed them, not by analyzing, but by feeling them fully and then releasing them. Today, she says, cannabis gave me back my soul. Then there's Jordan, a guy in my meditation group who used to think that cannabis made him lazy. But once he tried the intentional method, creating a sacred space, breathwork, and then journaling, he realized it wasn't laziness, it was overwhelm. The plant helped him slow down and meet his inner child with compassion, and it became his gateway to self-love. So you don't have to do psychedelics like psilocybin, ayahuasca, DMT, iboga to get some benefit. You could use it with the cannabis plant and get yourself to become more aware of everything that is going on in your life and to practice more self-love and to have a portal into higher frequential dimensional beings. All right, so now that we've talked about this theoretically, let's talk about how we could do this as a full activation protocol. All right, so I'll break this down into a few steps. Step number 1 is to clean your space. So physical clutter equals mental clutter. So make sure your space feels like a clean temple. Number 2 is to prepare your body. Drink water, do some light stretching, maybe take a shower. Treat your body like the sacred instrument that it is. Step 3, set sacred intention. I want you to say it out loud. I always say something like, I call upon the spirit of this plant to reveal what I'm ready to heal. Or I'll say something like, I am open to remembering my divine essence. Step number 4, do some breath work. I like to do box breathing, which is 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold at the top, 4 seconds out, and 4 seconds hold at the bottom. And I'll do maybe 5 to 6 sets of breath work before I do my conscious cannabis consumption. Step number 5, conscious cannabis consumption. All right, so let's just take 1 or 2 hits maximum and then just wait. Use a clean piece or a joint that you just rolled with love. Step number 6, sit down with your eyes closed. You could play binaural beats, or you could do it in silence. You could play a guided meditation, but let the visuals, the emotions, and the sensations rise naturally. Step number 7, ask a sacred question. What am I ready to release? What have I forgotten about myself? What's blocking my joy? And listen for the answer. It may come as a feeling, a color, an image, or even a full download. All right? There's no right or wrong way. It's just going to come. Step number 8, journal everything. No filters, no edits, just write everything that came through. And the last step, grounding and integration. Go for a walk, drink some tea. Don't start scrolling right away. Give the medicine some time to settle in your cells. Remember, the real magic isn't just in the plant. It's what you do after. Meditation helps you anchor the frequency. It shows the universe, I am ready to embody this. The plant opens the door. Meditation helps you walk through it. This is how you become the sacred technology you were always meant to be. So yeah, cannabis was never about just getting high. It was about becoming free. Used with sacred intention, it could help you remember why you're here, heal what you thought was broken, and reconnect you to your higher self. If this message resonated with you, subscribe to the channel, share it with someone who's ready to awaken, and if you want to go deeper, join our free meditation community. The link is in the description below. And until next time, breathe deep, stay curious, and treat every single inhale like a holy invitation.